Well, greetings, everyone. My name is Yolanda Harper, professor and program chair at the University of Arizona Global Campus. I will be co-chairing this session with Harla Frank, assistant professor here at UAGC, and we are pleased to welcome you to this session. UAGC Tiger Team, prioritizing employee care through the lens of care pillars. We have a spectacular group of leaders here with us who are all dedicated to prioritizing care within their organizations. And with that, I'll turn it over to Kate Johnson, Associate Director of Faculty Development. Kate.
Thanks so much, Yolanda. And we paid her extra money for all of those wonderful things that she said about us. So thank you for joining our panel discussion on prioritizing people in your organization through institutional recognition. My name is Kate Johnson. I'm the Associate Director of Faculty Development at UAGC and a member of this team. And I'll have a handful of questions that members of the panel will chime in on and discuss. If you think of a question or a comment, during this session, please go ahead and post it in the chat and we'll take those questions at the end of the session. So I'd like to take a moment and have the panel introduce themselves. We're a big lot, but we'll be quick. Bryan, why don't you kick us off?
Hi, Dr. Bryan Aylward. I am the Associate Vice President over the Office of Academic Innovation, Operations, and Technology here with UAGC. Excited for this presentation. Eric, you want to introduce yourself?
I would love to. I am Eric Piepenbrink, VP of Student Services, which means I lead our teams of awesome academic advisors. Jessi?
I'm Dr. Jessi Upshaw. I'm a program chair in the College of Arts and Sciences in the Master of Arts in Special Education program, and I'll pass it over to Josh.
Hey everybody, my name is Joshua Cook. I'm the Senior Director of Operations Compliance here at UAGC. So I ensure that our teams of advisors are being compliant in everything they say to our students. And I'll turn it over to Mark. I think you're on mute, Mark.
Sorry about that. Not good for a technologist to do that. My name is Mark Zecca. I'm Associate Instructor at UAGC. I'm also the Director of Information and Technology for Best Buy. That's right. That's that blue and white store that you get your flat screen TVs at. So I'll turn it over to Robin.
Actually, it's me next.
Sorry, Rachel.
That's okay. I'm Rachel Orlansky. I'm the VP of Student Affairs here at UAGC, and I'm kicking it to Robin.
Thanks, Rachel. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Dhakal. I'm a full-time faculty of economics and finance, primarily teach courses in economics. Thank you. And over to Tay.
Hi, I'm Lien. I'm the Chief of Staff at UAGC. I try to keep everything in order.
Thanks, team. And if you didn't know, we did that in alphabetical order because we work in education. So I'd like for the audience to get a sense of why this group exists and what the purpose of bringing all of us individually together is for the organization. What is the mission of the team, and what did this team hope to accomplish through this work?
Yes, I'll take that, Kate. Thank you. The Tiger team came together in late 2023 with a passion to create a recognition program that will, one, increase employee engagement, and two, employees' achievement or celebrate employees' achievements in all areas throughout the organization. Some other goals that the team had in mind is to bring to light and recognize all the hard work and dedication of our employees, from our leaders to all the boots on the ground staff, to give thanks and show that we appreciate our employees for all they do for our students every day. To boost morale, and most importantly, to foster the culture of care across the organization. So with that, I'll read to you what the mission is stated. We all want to feel valued and appreciated for the work we do. Giving recognition to our colleagues is a powerful way of expressing our appreciation for their behaviors, efforts, assistance, or collaboration. Aligning recognition to organizational goals and values helps us to see purpose in our work and reinforces our value to the institution. Building a culture of recognition is essential to deepening our culture of care, and we all have a role to play.
That was really great, Tay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any additional thoughts that they have on what the mission of the team or what the team hope to accomplish in the work? No? Okay. All right, now that we kind of have an idea of the purpose of us coming together for the mission of institutional recognition, let's get a better sense of the goal of this group by diving into the academic side of this work. You wouldn't have expected anything less, I'm sure, with a group of academics, but let's discuss what the literature says about the idea of recognition as a program, and if there is data that backs up the work our group set out to accomplish.
Yeah, I can take that, Kate. That's a good question. As a faculty member, I'm always curious about the data and what the literature actually says. I just wanted to start by saying that this is having a recognition program is not just a moral issue, right? The right thing to do kind of thing, which in itself is a very strong incentive for any institution to establish a program like this. But oftentimes you will hear leadership discuss the financial implication, and they want to know the data and the financial backing behind this. And so, the question is there a positive ROI to the program like this? And yeah, there are a lot of studies that backs this up, and there's a lot of studies that shows that this is good for business and morale and things like that. For the purpose of this short discussion, I want to focus primarily on this one particular study done by Gallup last year. In 2024, they released this report where they looked at 183,000 businesses across 53 different industries and 90 countries. So this is a massive pool of data that they looked at. And the results, some of the results are really fascinating. And this speaks volumes to what we are doing here at UAGC with the recognition program, and would hopefully be helpful for you to implement something in your program, in your institution as well. The first thing I wanted to sort of talk about is the employee engagement and what the Gallup data actually shows, right? So according to Gallup, engagement, it's not just about communications and emails and things like that between the employees and the leadership team. It's also a recognition program. It's also the general relationship between the leadership and the employees. And what they found was that for institutions where there's high engagement between the employees and the employers, there's a 23% boost in profitability. There's an 18% increase in the productivity of those employees, and then there's a 10% improvement in the customer loyalty. Those are huge numbers. 23% improvement in profitability. Any institution would wanna see that, right? So that's a very strong financial incentive right there. And on the flip side, the low engagement among employees actually has the opposite effect, right? As expected, there's a 73% reduction in absences and up to 51% reduction in the turnover if the team is highly engaged. And so again, that's another data point that we should actually be paying attention to. Up to 51% reduction in turnover translates to a lot of savings for a lot of institutions, right? It's not just about the engagement, though. There is also a case to be made from a larger economic perspective, because disengagement is not just a moral issue, it directly affects the bottom line, right? And the same survey data actually found that employee engagement cost the global economy $8.9 trillion annually, which is about 9% of the global GDP, right? So we're not just talking about a small amount of number here. We're talking about 9% of the global GDP. That's a big thing. And so recognition programs are a key tool in countering this disengagement among the employees, right? Just another data point here in terms of strictly talking about the revenue aspect of things. Implementing recognition programs have tangible financial benefits for the companies and institutions as well. This same Gallup polls survey found that companies with the recognition programs in place experienced up to 14% improvement in the revenue. Again, this is a direct tie between the recognition program and the revenue. So that's a very strong data point that favors institutionalizing something like this. More specifically for the educational institutions, there is a section on the Gallup report that talks about how recognition program actually has affected the educational institutions. they found that 70% engaged employees are 70% more likely to thrive and have a positive, favorable view of the institution that they work for. Again, that is important because that talks about the morale of the employees and so forth, right? So that means that faculty and staffs are able to deliver quality teaching. They are able to contribute to the overall success of the students, which is obviously a very important thing. One last thing I wanted to point out, Kate, on this is the similar study that the O.C. Tanner Institute did in 2023. And I wanted to share this information with everybody because oftentimes when you think about establishing a recognition program, you talk about budget, right? Financial constraints, how much money do you actually have to spend? And here at UAGC, we don't, that is not a concern at all. We don't have a budget per se from the leadership team. So it doesn't mean that you actually have to have a lot of money to establish something like this. But this particular study found that ideal amount of money to spend is between $200 and $350 per employee per year. And to me, that is a fascinating number. If you have a medium-sized company spending between $200 to $350 per employee per year, gives you the highest ROI, according to this study. I thought that was fascinating. That's all I got.
It absolutely is, Robin. And I think, you touched on there's an investment that some organizations are making. And, we kind of came into this a little different way. The program started out, our group started out with a singular task, and it evolved into a program for institutional recognition. How did evolution of this program affect the trajectory of our group?
It's a really important question, and obviously the numbers that Robin shared are massive goals for any organization to attain, and creating something that allows for that is a huge situation. So the recognition program at UAGC once upon a time was simply birthdays and work anniversaries, and excuse me, that started within the HR team. And one of the HR team members is a member of our team as well. So I think it's important to acknowledge that we worked alongside with HR as we built this program. And I think the other thing to recognize is that while this program has come a long way, we all know that it has a long way to go to really get us where we want it to be. The other thing that used to be recognized regularly was really big accomplishments. And I think one of the first things that we did to evolve was to make sure that we recognize not everyone has an opportunity to create really big accomplishments within the institution. So we really wanted to bring more visibility to daily greatness that most of the world doesn't get to see. Some team members, some teams, even some departments do really great work around here, and they just don't get publicly acknowledged for it, and nobody necessarily even knows everything that they do. So we wanted to ensure that people had a chance to recognize their peers and for the little things that make a difference, even if that thing only made a difference for one person, for example.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. And I'd love to piggyback off that to kind of give just a little bit more information on how our program really evolved. And so we were looking at it, we wanted to really recognize a lot of different various employee groups. Everybody here at the university is doing things a little bit differently to achieve our mission. So whether that's full-time faculty or associate faculty or staff. And so we really wanted to ensure, we want to recognize each role for their specific contributions. And so we created a program where, ultimately anybody in the organization could be nominated and celebrated, and we definitely want to recognize all that work. We also took the approach that we wanted kind of the individual contributor level and the manager level to be the real focus of who would ultimately, get elevated with that honoree kind of status when we gave out our recognition. And so we kind of crafted this program because we see a lot of leadership, they tend to receive praise or credit for their work or the department's work that they oversee. And so ensuring that those really more behind the scenes employees got recognized publicly, I think gave a little bit more credibility to the program and helped kind of keep it moving. So it wasn't just kind of this, oh, they're involved in cross-functional or they're involved in, these big projects. And so to Eric's point, we wanted to really kind of praise that good work that might go unseen otherwise. So one of the things that we had to do is we had to kind of create this idea of how do we compare apples to oranges, right? We got such different work having taken place across the organization. And so one of the things that I think it was Jessi actually on our team, she kind of created this initial rubric framework that really helped us categorize kind of the nominations in a way that made it easier to compare those apples to oranges. So, you know, what competencies were being on display or being shown through the work that was being done? What behaviors led that to, you know, the person to feel like it was really impactful to them and meaningful to their, you know, relationship at work and how they work together so well to bring, you know, student success out. And so those criteria were kind of made available on this page that we stood up then. So that way, if somebody was going to make a nomination, they could really judge what they were writing against those criteria to ensure, you know, that nomination had a better chance of getting selected as an honoree. And finally, we realized, you know, there has to be a culture created around recognizing for it to really gain traction, right? If you have, you know, one-time email that says, hey, you know, recognize your peers, send them an email, and that's all that really lasts, it's just going to get buried in the email. It's not going to get done. And so we had to create this culture really of recognition where it was woven into everything that we did. We had town halls where our leaders would come and call out this good work, and we'd be able to like dedicate, you know, time for all staff to be able to see this. We had team meetings where we would talk about it and encourage our folks, hey, go nominate. We had a SharePoint page on our company intranet where everything got posted, and so you could go back and read and reread nominations and different things. So it was all a way to really make it part of our framework and part of our culture here at UAGC to say, you know, what you guys do matter, and we need to celebrate that, and we need to call it out in a way that's just you know, visible to everyone, so it becomes part of just who we are and what we do. So I think all these things really helped us to evolve the program as it grew. And like Eric said, you know, we still have work to do. You know, we're still trying to figure out what does it look like to be, you know, an honoree if we don't have a budget, and how does that all work? But, you know, we're getting there, and yeah, I'll turn it over. Back to you.
Thanks, Josh. You know, we can have the best of intentions in getting a program off the ground. But it's not always as simple as just pushing it out into the world. And so getting a recognition program like this off the ground does take support from various groups within an organization. What are the factors that we think led to the success of this program?
Great, thanks, Kate. I think Josh actually touched on quite a bit of this in his last response, but I think one of the key factors that really helped us get this program going was some visibility at an institutional level. You know, from the very beginning, we were very intentional about the program and wanting to really highlight and spotlight this in our town halls and really push for broader leadership communication surrounding it to make sure everybody was aware of it and understood what they needed to do to be actively engaged. That visibility helped build credibility, I think, early on. In, you know, kind of getting this going. It wasn't just a feel-good initiative kind of tucked away in one department. It became something that leadership really championed at all levels, and the entire organization could really see as a priority. It's something we wanted to focus on and wanted to encourage. Another important success factor was our commitment to recognizing the work that often goes unseen. I know a few here have already kind of touched on this, but in larger organizations, you know, especially within higher ed, there's so much valuable work that happens behind the scenes. It's not really recognized on a day-to-day basis, whether it's a colleague, you know, consistently going the extra mile for students, or someone stepping in to support a team without asking for any sort of recognition. By including both peer and manager nominations, you know, we really opened the door for these contributions to be acknowledged in a real meaningful way. It shifted the narrative from recognizing just the loudest or most viable achievements to really celebrating the everyday excellence that really reflects the culture of care that we're trying to push here as an institution. So.
Just to add a few more thoughts to that question, Kate, and onto your comments, Brian. One of the most impactful choices we felt like as a group we made was to recognize all nominees. So Josh talked about the rubric that we were using to assess some of these nominations, and we put a lot of thought and work into identifying winners and honorees, but also really felt the importance in recognizing all nominees and recognizing that work. And that was really twofold. One, for those of you who attended town halls when we were talking about this process and these nominees and honorees, we had slides with every single name of somebody who had been nominated in any of the categories that we were talking about, along with some primo nominators who submitted a lot of nominations, and we wanted to recognize that. Additionally, we sent folks who were the recipients of a nomination the exact quote that we received as part of that nomination. And I can see a lot of you on in attendance today who were recipients of those nominations. And you can probably attest to how amazing that felt to get an email out of the blue from this group saying, hey, you received this nomination. This person said these amazing words about you. Take a moment, read it, let it sink in. We appreciate you, we see you. And all of these folks on the screen today, we got to read all of those nominations, hear about the amazing work happening across the institution. And that's a real gift too. I think that all of us got to be participating in this work and see all these amazing things. And I see, Marissa, your question in the chat about high five. There is continued work on recognizing all of the amazing contributions our community has as part of our Culture of Care Council. And we don't talk enough about how great it is to be a part of reading the nominations, to be a part of this work. There's real value in that too. One other piece that we feel is crucial to the program's success was just a dedication to continuous improvement, right? We got something off the ground. It was going to be wobbly in the beginning. We needed to really think critically, take feedback, improve along the way. And I think you can see the fruits of that labor by the increase in nominations that we had over time. So in our very first quarter of soliciting nominations and reporting them, it was a bit of a stretch. There were some categories that got just a handful of nominations, right, as we were socializing this. And towards, months and months down the road, we were like, oh my gosh, there's 50 in here. We really need to put some work together. And so that's all part of continuous improvement, right? Receiving that feedback and integrating it. And I think the real growth in the nominations that we've received over time is a testament to that.
That's great. Thanks, Bryan and Rachel. UAGC is in a unique position where mostly all of our staff and faculty are remote, but it's not as though the lessons that we've learned can't be shared out. And I'm sure that there are approaches that this group discovered that might help other organizations who are looking to implement a recognition program of their own. Mark, what strategies that we've found do you think could be used to implement a recognition program at other institutions?
Well, one of the things that we found, especially in research that O.C. Tanner did in 2025, is that there are some foundational pieces to a recognition strategy that any type of company or organization can use. And there's really boiled down, there's four foundational pillars. The first one is defining a clear and specific set of goals and objectives. And what that means is, first of all, trying to determine what do you want to achieve here. Is the goal to reduce turnover, to increase engagement, improve performance, make a stronger company or organizational culture? And then you need to take a look at how do you measure this? In other words, setting measurable goals means setting a metric that gives you some samples that say, yeah, this is working for us. And maybe it's a series of kind of objective, service level objectives. By doing this kind of recognition, we can increase our engagement by 10% or 15%, or some other metric like that. And then also, as a part of setting goals and objectives, it's developing a business case. And yes, recognition is a part of a business. And obviously, businesses are there to either achieve revenue or to achieve some service capability or to achieve, accomplishments. And in order to do that, a business case takes the investment you make in time and in people, in money, and says, by doing these things, there is in fact a return on our investment. And that's a very important thing for the company or the organization to have, because it motivates it to increase even more the investment, increase even more the time people spend doing it. The second foundational pillar is designing a comprehensive program. Keyword, comprehensive. In doing so, you want to offer a variety of recognition methods. Okay, if you only have a recognition program that's, okay, climb and attain a standing at Mount Everest, you're going to leave a lot of people at the base camp because there's not a lot of room at the top. And that usually is seen, in fact, it's almost seen as anti-recognition. So it's important to have a variety of recognition methods, and this could include public recognition, peer-to-peer recognition, manager or leadership recognition, and using milestone recognition or milestone celebrations. All of these are important in producing a series of variety within the recognition program. And of course, it's important to also have some form of tangible reward, whether it's a reward or a memento of some kind, gift cards, bonuses, or other forms of tangible rewards. These are important because they take the moment of recognition and bring it into history. In other words, something people can look back and say, oh yeah, I got that for doing this. Another concern in making a comprehensive program is using technology and streamlining and making optimization movements within the process so that it's easy to use, it's easy to engage, it's easy to consume, it's easy to understand. Also, it's important to create a brand for the recognition. A recognition of the recognition program is important because, you know, all people then will understand it for what it is and what it means to the organization. And of course, you have to consider inclusivity because it has to be inclusive, or again, it becomes an anti-recognition effort, and you don't want that to happen. And last but not least, it requires that personal touch, that specific directed recognition towards a person. Even if it's a group recognition, it's involving the people in that group and making sure that that recognition touches each and every individual. And the third pillar of the foundation is communicating and promoting the program. It's being able to launch the program with a clear message and an engaging message so that the entire organization understands it. You have to, in order to achieve that, train managers and leaders in how the recognition program actually gets engaged and is used. And then there has to be regular communication to keep the organization up to date on the successes and updates of the program itself. And of course, in that communication, you want to use multiple channels to promote the program. Could be emails, intranet, social media, and the like. All these are important aspects in providing a wide variety of communication methods in order to inform people. And last but not least, you want to encourage employees to participate in the program and give them some opportunities to not only nominate others, but also to receive the recognition themselves. And then the final pillar or final foundational piece is to evaluate and improve. And in fact, we could say that this particular set of strategies, if you will, or if you want to call them foundational principles, probably weren't known or probably weren't used in the evolution of the recognition program today at UAGC. But if you take a look at it, you can almost check the boxes off, indicating that there's a significant amount of common sense, even in a grassroots effort as the program evolves. And you can see where the strategy actually gains not only momentum, but recognition that this is probably foundational in its means. So going forward to improve, you can use these particular steps to say, are we achieving this well, or can we do better in these particular things? And that means taking a look at the metrics, getting feedback from the employees, and then making adjustments to the program as you move on, and then being able to celebrate the successes and the acknowledgement of the challenges that you've overcome.
I think those are
Back to you, Kate.
great points, Mark, and helpful not only to this type of a program, but really to any program that you're trying to launch in a large organization. Now that our group has established a strong foundation and the program is becoming a greater part of the university culture, and this aligns with the question that was asked in the chat, so I'm glad we're getting to this. What is the future of institutional recognition?
I'll take that one, Kate. Thank you. Recognition, of course, remains a meaningful part of our culture here at UAGC. As you've heard today, this team really has established that foundation, aligning with the culture of care pillars by enabling the communication of recognition, advocating for visibility of the impact, respecting all roles and nomination opportunities, really empowering employees and highlighting contributions to student-centered success. And now our focus is going to shift to the future, which is how do we ensure our initial approach remains impactful and continues to evolve to meet those needs that we have of all of our employees at all levels. Our recognition team has been provided an opportunity to expand and grow to include an even broader representation across university teams by aligning with the opportunity for new subcommittees carrying out recognition for all full-time, part-time employees for both the staff and faculty side. Allison, that kind of speaks to your question there that I saw in the chat. So having all subcommittee components of recognition can come together and be supported. We're forming a new Culture of Care Council subcommittee on recognition, which includes members of this founding team, and we're bringing in new member voices. If you do have any questions or interest about that in particular, I'll put my email in the chat as well, and you can ask about that, or if we have time at the end of the session, happy to speak to that. But this expanded team will carry forward the alignment of our organizational culture and the vision that our Senior Vice Provost, Dr. Gary Packard, has cultivated. And our vision really does remain clear. People are at the center of this organization, and recognition is at the heart of supporting our employees. So building on this foundation, the program will grow in both depth and reach, and our future initiatives will enhance visibility and celebration and continue the goal of that recognition is really woven into the fabric of our university life across the miles and time zones. Some of the proposed opportunities that we are going to include and consider, but we are certainly not limiting ourselves to, is taking a walk through our current recognition system. As Mark mentioned earlier, as our team is growing, we have opportunities to reflect on our current goals and objectives, evaluate our processes and successes, grow opportunities to communicate and promote the program, and take an approach for continued evaluation and improvement. We also want to look at elevating our visibility, dedicating additional time to recognizing nominees and award recipients, and really, taking those moments to celebrate. Having the opportunity to amplify more voices and encouraging our awardees to share their reflections and highlighting some of these meaningful nomination stories beyond just them receiving their nomination stories themselves. Expanding recognition categories, including additional ways and means to recognize employees, and scaling those opportunities beyond our foundational program. Also, looking at honoring those milestones, enhancing the current program, and to meaningfully honor the time of service our employees have committed to our teams and organizations. Looking at data-driven support to recognition to continue. There's another subcommittee of the Culture of Care Council that is coming through for the Research Center. So partnering with that group to determine and build on the research that Robin shared today of how we can contribute to recognition programs that are evidence and data driven, and broadening our reach, including additional recognition, representation, and nomination opportunities across university initiatives, and including all online initiatives. And then also strengthening our community, inviting additional stakeholders to share in these celebrations that we have been launched with this foundational program. So what's begun as an initiative rooted in the university's genuine caring foundations, what has become known as the Culture of Care, will continue to grow, fostering a lasting impact on the institution and, most importantly, its people. Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Jessi. There is a question in the chat a couple of panel members have answered, but for those of you who haven't, if you'd like to share anything additional, is there anything you learned from being part of this group that influenced how you lead your own team and or work with colleagues? Any blind spots that may have been discovered?
I would love to answer that, and I didn't write it on purpose because I was hoping to say it out loud, but I appreciate those of you who also answered it in writing. I don't know that it was necessarily a new learning by being a part of this group, but more of a reaffirmation that the little things matter a lot, and the little things matter to a lot of people. And it's important for me as a leader to recognize that. My team members appreciate each other and recognize the value that they add to each other, and I need to be part of adding that value to them as well. So I think that was a really good reaffirmation. Reading all the little snippets that people wrote about each other really is very, very uplifting, which has also been written in the chat by a couple of panel members. And it reinvigorates you to remember that everything we do here matters and every day matters. So just that's kind of my biggest takeaway from
Yeah, and
tonight's
I would
session.
say to piggyback off that too, it's like a lot of times, like you look at what you're doing and it might just be in your mind, like, oh, I'm just doing my role or I'm just performing my job. But to somebody else, that might be, the life-saving, training or coaching or just collaboration that they needed to really understand the problem or find a solution to something that they were working on. And so being able to just kind of talk about it in a way that's like, hey, that was helpful to me. I really appreciated that you did X, Y, or Z. Really brings a lot of meaning, because a lot of times people are just like, well, I was just doing my job. But like, to get recognition for that, I think goes a long way. I mean, we're all human. We all, thrive off of that recognition kind of piece of, I was able to contribute. I had meaning. I brought value to, my team or my organization. And so always just being willing to say thank you, and really, reach out whenever somebody has a positive impact on you, I think can go a really long way.
I think to speak to the other part of what Steph had asked in the chat, I don't know that it's necessarily a blind spot, but I think it's still something that we as an organization need to figure out how to do better, which is the recognition of our associate faculty. I'm so grateful that Mark was on this panel, or we weren't a panel, we were just a regular group before today. Because he continues to remind us and ask those questions. And I'm sorry, my daughter just got home. She's yelling my name. Hi, Auden. Okay, thank you. But we are in a unique position where we have remote faculty. We, don't have a dollar amount per se that we have, that we can send just something cool or whatnot, but I know that there are things in the works across the institution around associate faculty. Oh gosh. All right, thanks so much.
I can take just for a second, Kate, since you're So what somebody asked in the chat about the difference between having a smaller recognition programs versus a wider university institution-wide recognition program. I think that's a really interesting question, because from us, our perspective, I feel like what we are trying to achieve here is this really focused on the culture of recognition rather than just a recognition program, right? So depending on the institution, depending on the size of the institution, it may work for you to have a bigger, wider institution-wise recognition program, but a small effort within a smaller team goes a long way also, right? And that is just essentially about establishing this culture of recognition. It doesn't have to be a big, huge program in the institution. Sorry, Kate.
No, thank you for bearing with me through that. I appreciate it.
To add to Dr. Robbins' comments there, culture of recognition comes out of a culture of care, but also both existed before we gave them those names. And I think that's really important to talk about with UAGC. This place, those names exist because that culture existed. And we now have better definitions around how to make those things great. But those things have always been present in this institution. And I think that's a really important thing to recognize for the hard work that lots of people have done over many years to create that. So
Kate brought up also the contributions and the participation of associate faculty in the, but not just in the university, but in being a part of that culture of care environment. There's an interesting setup, if you want to call it that, where associate faculty are a lot like students in the sense that they have one foot in the university and another foot possibly in another business, another company, whatever like that. And many of our students are exactly in that same boat. And so there's this almost automatic consideration of what recognition is, what care means, because they're seeing it in this other life that they live. And there's, in a sense, a certain expectation that in the life of the university, that's either going to be reflected and or even improved, as a part of their experience. And so it sets up kind of an expectation on the part of, in many cases, associate faculty, and in many cases, the students themselves, that this caring, this empathizing, this recognition of whether it's milestone or it's accomplishment or whatever is taking place and is actually there. So I look at it, being an associate faculty too, is my experience at my company, and you can't have a 200,000 person company without having some maturity in a recognition program, right? I mean, or else you're going to have a lot of pissed off employees, and you can't have that and still be a good company. And so you look at that experience and say, oh wow, that would be great to inject that kind of energy into this kind of company, the company of education, the company of caring, and therefore try to motivate a program and people to go ahead and exercise that culture of care and recognition.
And that's why we loved having Mark here. What a wonderful example, Mark, of the contributions and your experience that you brought to our group. Well, I think that probably wraps it up for us, Yolanda. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to share about the fun journey that we went on, the exciting turns of events that happened along the way. And I think Rachel hit it the nail on the head, saying we were so blessed to be able to review and see all of the love and the care and the appreciation that folks have. Sometimes there are some individuals in our organization that the only time they might, get a little hello is if they did something wrong. The most important thing is that they do something right every single day. And so being able, like a couple questions asked, being able to highlight those individuals in little pockets of our organization was really important to the work that we were hoping to accomplish with this Tiger team.
Well, I want to thank these amazing presenters. I think all of us will walk away from this session knowing that there is an underlying current of affection and love at UAGC. And I think that it's said so many times, it's hard work, and it truly is. And I want to thank you all for bringing this to the surface and reminding me how important it is to notice the little things every day and verbalize those. So thank you so much. It was just wonderful. Dr. Harper, did you want to say anything before we close?
Just thank you to everyone. Thank you to our panelists. A shout out also to Stephanie, who has helped with the technology side, and enjoy the rest of your session.